Corvo Attano and Daud are two sides of the same coin. This is true both thematically and in gameplay. Let's start with thematically. In the beginning of the game, Daud and his gang of supernatural assassins break into Dunwall Tower and assassinate Empress Jessamine, as well as kidnapping her daughter. The murder and kidnapping are pinned on Corvo, the royal protector of the Empress, with Daud and his men teleporting away. After 6 months in prison, Corvo escapes and meets the Outsider, an otherworldly being from the void. The Outsider brands Corvo with his mark, giving him some supernatural abilities of his own. Much later in the game, Corvo is poisoned. Weak but alive, he's dumped in a boat and sent downriver. The boat arrives in a flooded portion of Dunwall, the home of Daud and his men.
I know a great deal, bodyguard. I recognize those marks on your hand. A gift from your friend. The one who talks to you in the dark. Talks to you when you visit his shrines. I visited those shrines too. And I know what it felt like to shove a blade into your Empress. But I don't know you. Who you are, and who you fight for. You're a mystery. And I can't allow that.
Unable to fight back, he's locked up. Daud reveals that he too bears the Outsider's mark. He also has listened to the Outsider's voice and has made a name for himself as an assassin, just as you have been doing. He and his men keep you alive, thinking they can get a bigger reward for delivering you to the powers that be unspoiled. When Corvo escapes captivity, he heads straight for Daud, the man who threw the Empire into chaos. His freakish assassins are shadows of him, sharing a portion of his power, such as the ability to teleport and pull people towards them with their minds. Finally making it to Daud's headquarters, and I can't help it anymore, I have to talk about gameplay. Dishonored encourages stealth, generally speaking. Your powers are equally useful in combat and evasion. You can instantly kill enemies if they're unaware of you. There are dozens of alternate routes you can take to avoid enemies entirely, and the world you inhabit becomes darker and more precarious the more lives you take. So to make things simple, it would make the most sense to blink up to this bookshelf, wait for the second assassin to leave the room, hit the one that stays with a sleep dart, blink behind Daud, and slit his throat, or choke him unconscious. It's fast, tactical, and I thoroughly recommend that you do not do this. Taking out Daud this way will skip one of the best fights and conversations in the entire game. Now, I'm not about to shame people for playing on easy, I've done it, but especially for the fight against Daud, I strongly recommend bumping it up to very hard to make the coolest fight in the game even cooler. On the hardest difficulty, Daud can kill you with a single swing of his sword, and he swings fast. Like his assassins, he dances and twirls around in a lethal blade ballet, occasionally shooting you with his wrist bow, teleporting all over the place to confuse you. He has every trick in the book at his disposal, and it takes every trick in the book to bring him down. He's immune to sleep darts. If you stop time, he just ignores it. His assassins will initially jump in to defend their boss, but he tells them to get lost. This is between you and him. Daud isn't silent either. He talks while he tries to kill you, and it's so friggin' cool.
And now we fight the duel that no two others could fight, against the ticking of the clock. I'm waiting for this. Let's see if the Outsider will save your life, or mine.
I've never wanted to listen to a boss fight's mocking dialogue before, but something about the way Daud talks makes me want to drag the fight out as long as possible so I can hear everything he has to say.
Fool! We're of the same breed, you and I. We kill for others.
Even Daud knows you're the same. You're both assassins, both marked by the Outsider. You both use a sword and crossbow. Even their outfits are similar. If you've been a butcher, slaughtering Daud's men and anyone else in your path, the line between you and him becomes so blurry it ceases to exist. If you choose the path of mercy, knocking out guards or sneaking past them, it proves you can rise above the depths that Daud sinks to. In my first playthrough, I was pretty violent because of how fun the combat is, and when Daud told me we were the same, it did sting a little. What exactly separates Corvo from Daud if Corvo chooses violence? The answer is basically nothing. This fight is awesome, but what comes next is even better. When Daud is defeated, he teleports outside and you can go talk to him.
I have one more surprise for you. I ask for my life. When I killed your Empress and took her daughter, something broke inside me. Now I see the design on the back of your hand, the mark of the outsider himself. And I remember all I've done. The years of waiting for the right moment to step forward from an alley and drive a knife between the ribs of some noble. All the money exchanging hands from one rich bastard or another. Killing for one of them one year, then being paid to kill him in return the next. I remember bending at the shrines, listening as the outsider whispered that I was going to change things, that I was somehow important. It felt good. Made me believe I was powerful. But what have I accomplished? More than you have, or much less. Now I want nothing but to leave this city and fade from the memory of those who reside here. I've had enough killing, so my life is in your hands. Make your choice. And you choose mercy. Extraordinary.
This moment and the 2 DLCs where you play as Daud cemented him as a fan favorite character. Don't worry, I'll talk about the Knife of Dawnwall and the Brigmore Witches more thoroughly in another video, but yeah, Daud left an impact on this world, being the only other person you meet with abilities like yours, one of the only targets on Corvo's list to pose a genuine threat to him. But let's talk about gameplay. In the Knife of Dawnwall, you play as Daud in the weeks before Corvo wrecks his life, and get to see how tortured he really was by what he did to Jessamine and her daughter for money. Daud's powers are a mirror of Corvo's. Corvo has Blink to rapidly move through space, and so does Daud. The key difference being that while you aim Daud's teleport, time freezes until you let go. Corvo stops time, so does Daud. Corvo has Dark Vision, Daud has Void Gaze, but it's how their powers differ that interests me. Blink, Bend Time, and Void Gaze all function just like Corvo's abilities, albeit one minor difference, but the rest of his powers are inversions of Corvo. Corvo summons a mindless swarm of rats. Daud summons one assassin who can think for himself. Corvo unleashes a gust of wind to push enemies back. Daud pulls objects and enemies to himself. Corvo possesses living beings to control their actions. Daud shares his power with his gang, allowing them control over what he can do. When their powers aren't the same, they act as inversions of each other. This drives home just how similar they can be, as well as what the differences between them are. Dishonored is one of my all-time favorite games, so you can expect more content on it in the future. I wanted to do full reviews of all the Dishonored games, but that would have taken years because of how dense these games are, so I'm splitting it up into several smaller topics. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, sub for more, and leave me a comment telling me how you beat Daud.